recently I've started asking for some time off to write them. I used to write them
It's a good idea.
while I was doing all my other work, and
Yeah.
then one of our college counselors said, "Hey, you know what? They should give you like a day off so you can stay home and do this." And I don't think I actually took that day this year, but I was given the day.
Good.
And the school is very supportive of that idea. And I get a lot of gratitude from both the administration and from students and parents. Everybody really appreciates how difficult it is to do those.
Will you tell kids if you can't write them a good recommendation?
Yeah, that's only happened to me a couple of times. I think sometimes there'll be a student that I really feel like somebody else could do a better job. That this other teacher, I know, because we all know everything about what everybody's doing, right? Everybody's in everybody's business. So I'll know, this student really did better in someone else's class and really showed them something. Whereas with me, it was problematic.
Yeah.
That is not to say that I haven't had people persist. So, like a couple years ago, I had a student. I'm sure he wouldn't mind me saying that, but I won't say his name anyway. He failed my class as a junior, and then had to take it again as a senior, and asked me to write his. He had failed the class once, and he was still taking it the second time and hadn't passed it yet when I was writing the college recommendation.
That's a new way of doing that.
Yeah, so and I think it was actually logical from his point of view because he said, well, I'm going to have this F on my transcript.
Yeah.
I would like it for the person who gave it to me to actually explain
get
what was
it.
happening instead of just leave it there unexplained.
Yeah. Which makes sense, actually.
Yeah, and I mean, way back in the day, I can remember a kid who asked me to write his college recommendation. It was when I was teaching at boarding school, and I'd seen this kid's interaction in the dorm, and I really felt like he was a negative influence on other kids, and that put me off. And
Just overall.
I just said, I can't do this. You're going to have to find somebody else. And he didn't have any problem finding somebody.
And when you're writing
rare,
them, if it's a student who's kind of in between or whatever, you're an average student, do you play up their good part? What do you do?
Sure.
How do you deal with that?
Well, I mean, I think to a certain extent that's part of the game. That's what they expect, right?
Yeah.
They want the teacher recommendation for you to show things about the student that they couldn't otherwise know. And invariably those are going to be the good things that don't necessarily show up someplace else. But I look at each letter as an official document that's a record of my opinion about this student at this time. So I don't lie, I won't gloss over things that I think are a problem. That said, there are many ways to present, right? There's a big difference between
that's true.
willful and stubborn and obstructive, right?
Exactly.
Or someone who's constantly badgering you. If I see that I know where that comes from, if it comes from a good place, and I think that that's tenacity, then it's tenacity, right? And that it has, but
So
on the
you
other
put it
hand,
into the...
right? And I like to think that I can be somewhat artful about it, so that I can write a sentence that shows both the potential difficulty of this behavior, but also its potential merits.
Yeah. Which is also, once again, appreciated by the students, I'm sure. So,
Right, because I
although they
think
never see
what the colleges are really looking for is, do you know this student? Am I getting the word from somebody who really knows this person or not? Can I trust this information? And so the more detailed that you can be, the greater they're going to trust you as a
true.
source.
And I'm sure when you don't gloss over those issues, they see it
Right, 'cause
much
they think,
more.
oh, okay, so
frankly, this is a teacher who's giving us the
right,
whole picture.
something that's all glowing. This could be my wife calling.
Okay.
She's more famous than I am, so
This is
I'll have
Megan
to take that
Maroney is
call.
his
Right.
wife, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Most of our viewers.
I think that I have had kids where I write almost everything positive, for sure. But even with them, I try to highlight how they used to be here and now they've moved to here, so that I can spend a little bit of time talking about the dark side.
Yeah, at
right?
least showing.
Right, so to show that I've
is
seen
nice.
this. Right,
Yeah.
this is the thing. So,
There's no secret thing that's going to
Right.
pop out in college.
but I write a lot of really. Our students this year got into all kinds of crazy colleges, which it is always a little bit of a surprise to me because it's super competitive, and you
Yeah.
don't know from year to year. And this year, I think one of our best students overall, and I think everyone thinks that, didn't get into a bunch of the colleges that he wanted to, and he's going someplace great, and he's going to be fine in life. I have no worries about him,
that's okay.
right? But it was a bummer, right? And there's and sometimes we had another student this year.
There's a little bit of personal investment from the
there's right
side.
Who does something uncanny in the spring of his senior year after all the college acceptances have come back. I had a student in my creative writing class write a story that was just absolutely incredible. And I thought to myself, if you dialed this back 6 months, he could have sent this to colleges, and I'm sure they would have
so frustrating.
really loved it.
Yeah.
But even then, you don't really know. So, like, we had a student maybe 4 or 5 years ago now, 4 years ago, I guess, who was writing fiction of publishable quality her junior year.
Wow.
In fact, she did get a couple stories published in major literary magazines while she was still in high school. And some schools could not care less, and other schools offer her a full scholarship.
Wow.
And they're the kind of schools that people say in the same breath, right?
Yeah.
They're all the same level of school, but it's just that to some admissions departments, that sort of singular talent means a lot. Other places, they say, yeah, but she got a B- in math, so she doesn't make it.
Yeah.
So it's a really bizarre process.
It is.
And you get to know how bizarre it is.
As a teacher.
Writing those recommendations.
So we're actually going to wrap up. I wanted to talk about one of his assignments. I'm going to give kind of a brief description. We read The Scarlet Letter our junior year, and I guess the assignment is you choose, so in The Scarlet Letter, what's her name?
Hester Prynne.
Hester, yeah. She wears the letter.
Oh, right. She wears the A.
She wears the A.
I know what you're talking about now. Go ahead.
And so in this class, each student chooses their own, most shameful act.
That's right.
And then wears their letter.
That's
for
right.
How long is it? A week?
For most of the unit that we're working on. So in class and around campus, and I've had kids wear them, under their soccer jerseys.
Yeah.
Or I had one kid fashion a giant E out of cardboard and attach it to his foot.
Was it Jordan?
And drag it around him like it was an anchor.
Yeah. That's clever.
So yeah, it's a really interesting, and that comes out of free writing. So they never have to tell anybody what it is. And in fact, I encourage them not to tell anyone, because it makes it worse. Because people are always asking you.
Yeah.
Like I had a P. I do it too. And I had a P one year, and a student looked at me and they were like, "Pig-headed?"
Yeah.
People will guess all kinds of crazy. People will guess all kinds of other bad things besides the one you chose for yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah. My friends give me a hard time about that one every year, but it is a good one.
But another example of just a very cool, very personal assignment that you have in your class that I think is interesting for kids and makes them look at some of the issues they're having with their friends or at home or whatever, or their personal history.
Yeah, because weirdly, the Scarlet Letter is, although it's the oldest and the hardest thing that we read in terms of fiction, it has the most relevance because it is somebody with this transgression that they have to keep and deal with themselves, and that is something that really speaks to people.
And so, once again, that example of that, and thank you so much for coming on. I think all the stuff that you're doing is really cool, and I appreciate it as a student, and it's really important that teachers do this kind of stuff that brings in the personal life with school and these personal issues in a school setting. So, anyway, thank you so much for coming on. This is Marco Moroni, high school teacher and husband of Megan Moroni. All right, great. This is Abby Azerode. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next week with Brian W.M. Niles. Okay. So, and now I'm going to record the open.
Why don't you just add one little other piece? How they can contact you.
Oh, yeah.
They can see you live.
Should I just redo the whole end?
Just go say it again.
So thank you for watching. Thank you for coming on, Marco Moroni, and we will be recording live next week at 10 o'clock Pacific time with Brian W.M. Niles. You can we'll be talking about college next week. It's all going to be about college, that episode. You can contact me at abby@twit.tv. That's my email address. Or find me on Twitter, Abby Laporte, or on Facebook or on YouTube. So thank you so much for watching. See you next week. Is that okay?
Great.
And then now the open.